Welcome to DIYEasyCrafts.com. How to make your own sea turtle butcher's block cutting board. Now I covered actually making these butcher's blocks in a separate video, and I'll put a link on the tail end of this video. On this video we're just going to show you how to cut out this sea turtle from a butcher's block and into a butcher's block cutting board. The process is pretty simple. After you take the glued together hardwood, in this case it's red oak, and you plane that smooth and sand it smooth so that you've got basically a finished butcher's block. We're then going to shape it into a nautical cutting board. I drew a basic turtle onto this wood, and I have another video which shows you the simple process of drawing these sea turtles. Again, I'll put a link on the tail end of this video. And I just cut out that outside shape with a jigsaw. Very, very simple, very easy process. Only takes a couple minutes. Once the shape is cut out, then we're going to start to do some work. And what we want to do is grind away the fins and the head a little bit so that the shell stands out. I'm going to actually use a router with a round bit. And I'm going to follow the line from the shell, basically just carving out anything that is not shell. And I'm just making an outline. I'm not going to router away the whole fin. I'm just creating a groove, and the corner of that groove, because it's a round bit, has a rounded edge. You'll see in a minute. I'm now going to come across the head and do the exact same thing right where the neck meets into the shell. So it's got a groove, but it's got a round curve to it. That just adds a little bit of strength to the head and to the fins, etc. I'm then going to use a disc grinder with a flap sanding wheel, and you can get these with very coarse sanding wheels, 36 or 40 grit, that literally would just rip through this hardwood material. If you haven't done any work with a grinder like this before, you might want to start off, with an 80 grit, which allows you to just very carefully remove that material. But we want to remove the material on the fins as well as on the neck, so that the fins and the neck are flush with the routed groove that we had done earlier. So it all becomes one, so that the neck butts up against the shell and has a curved line that goes up into the shell. I'm going to use that same grinder to round over all of the fins as well as carve the head out. Now, there's not a lot of artistic ability that needs to be done here. If you notice, all I'm doing is rounding the sharp edges. That's it. I've merged the fin and the head into the routed groove, and I'm just rounding the edges a little bit and tapering everything down. Very simple process. If you try it, it really is easier than it may appear. I'm just going to unclamp the piece from my workbench, and here you see the head is basically carved out. I've got a little groove there for the mouth. The fins are a little bit lower, probably by about a ½ inch than the shell. I'm going to router another line, and this is going to follow just really adding additional detail to the shell, and at the same time creating a trough for the gravy. You don't have to add this line if you don't want to. A lot of cutting boards don't have a gravy trough or a gravy drain line. At this point, I sanded the entire cutting board down. I used an oscillating sander, rough, and then fine sandpaper, and I sanded everything smooth. Then I wanted to add a little bit more detail onto the shell. So I'm just using a Dremel grinder with a cutoff wheel, and that just very quickly and easily creates some lines on the shell. And you can add as much detail as you like. The eye was just created by drilling a hole part of the way through the head, probably about a ½ inch down or so. And then the real detail on the fins, and you certainly don't have to do this. You could leave these fins without this detail. But if you have a Dremel grinder, you can create these little scallop marks on the fins. It really doesn't take all that long. And these add a beautiful texture onto the fin. It just makes the whole piece kind of pop out. You do that on all 4 fins, and you can even use that same tool on the ends or on the sides of the butcher's block. You want to have that detail so that you see it no matter which direction you're looking at this cutting board from. I'm going to do the same process on the head, but I'm not pressing as deep. I'm using a slightly different Dremel grinder bit. This one is just round, but basically the scallops are just a little bit shallower. I just wanted the head to look a little bit different than the fins did, different texture. Back to the sander. I'm just sanding everything smooth. The fins, the actual cutting board surface on the shell itself, and at this point, all of the woodwork is basically done. Like I said, it looks really nice, but it's a very simple process. The only thing left to do is to soak this hardwood with a cutting board oil, butcher's block cutting board oil. You really want to give it 2 or 3 coats, heavy coats. Let them soak in for 15 or 20 minutes each time, and then when you're all done, wipe off any excess oil. You really want to impregnate the cell structure of that hardwood so that it fills up with oil and therefore can't absorb any water or moisture from whatever food you're cutting. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the finished product after it was oiled. Please check us out on the web at DIYEasyCrafts.com. Be sure to check out our other how-to videos. I included some links here for not only using pipe clamps and how to make butcher's blocks, how to draw sea turtles, but also to some other sea turtle crafts. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to this YouTube channel.